shouldn't be hard. Life should be a fun-filled adventure every day. So now start joining up dots. Tap into your talents, your skills, your God-given gifts, and tell your boss, you don't deserve me. I'm out of here. It's time for you to smash that alarm clock and start getting the dream business and life you, well, of course, are dreaming of. Let's join your host, David Ralph, from the back of his garden in the UK, or wherever he might be today, with another jammed-packed episode of the #1 hit podcast, Join Up Dots.
Yeah, good morning to you and welcome to the 12th episode on the Get Wealthy course. Now, if you've got anything from the last 11 episodes, you will understand that getting wealthy doesn't just happen in a big moment. It's all the small moments that build up that make all the difference. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about understanding how we spend money, often without realizing it, and how we can regain control of those expenditures through a simple yet powerful technique. You see, wealth isn't just about making a huge salary or investing in the stock market. For most of the people, that doesn't occur. It often starts with the smaller, almost invisible actions we take daily, actions that, when compounded over time, can make a significant difference in our financial health. Now, we've spoken about the compound action over the last few episodes, but this episode is slightly different, and it focuses on the act of saving by observing how we spend in the first place. The principle we'll explore might sound so simple, it almost sounds stupid, but for 1 week, we're going to track every unnecessary purchase, and instead of spending, save that amount. But what you uncover through this exercise could be a real eye-opener. Now, let's begin by understanding why tracking our expenses is so important, because most of us tend to spend without thinking, and many of these expenditures fall into a category that we can only describe as mindless spending. It might be that daily coffee on the way to work, it might be a quick snack during a break, or even that magazine you pick up without a second thought. Now, these purchases feel insignificant at the time, right? But you don't even think about it. You don't think, wow, I'm getting huge value here. But if we stop and ask ourselves how often we do it, we might be surprised at how much it adds up. And what's key here is becoming aware of these seemingly insignificant expenses. Awareness is the first step in controlling any aspect of your life, and money is no different. The challenge here is essentially a week of becoming conscious, becoming more aware of these choices. And by recording every little spend, you begin to see patterns. But it's not just about seeing where the money goes. It's about asking the next question, can I actually cut back on this and transfer that amount to a savings account instead? And what we'll see over time is that these little decisions matter. The act of saving, even small amounts, can lead to a significant financial buffer. And not only that, but this practice rewires your brain to think about spending differently, embedding a mindset of saving over mindless consumption. Now, let's give you an example. Imagine a man named David. Every day without fail, David stops at a cafe on his way to work. The coffee is nice, he enjoys the atmosphere, and he doesn't think much about the £3.50 he spends each day. After all, what's £3.50 in the grand scheme of things? It's not going to break the bank, right? Well, David decides to take on this challenge for a week, and he starts recording all his expenses, not just that coffee, but the sandwich at lunch, the bottle of water from the vending machine, and the occasional snack. And every time he thinks about buying, he stops himself and instead jots it down, imagining that amount being transferred to a separate savings account. And at the end of the week, David sits down and totals everything up, and he finds that he's saved nearly £40 in just 7 days. £40 that would otherwise have disappeared into things he didn't really need or even miss. Now, what if you apply this to across the year? £40 a week becomes £2,080 a year just by being conscious of my spending. Imagine what I could do with that money. A holiday, investments, an emergency fund, it builds up. And the key takeaway here is that small, seemingly insignificant amount can turn into substantial savings over time. It's that cumulative power of these actions that really starts to shift the needle on your financial journey. So tracking expenses for a week, it might seem tedious, but it's about more than just the money. It's about mindfulness. And that's what we talk about all the time through this course. By consciously choosing where your money goes, you gain control over it. And when you're in control, you can make decisions that align with your long-term goals. This week of saving is not meant to be an exercise in deprivation. It's not about feeling guilty every time you want to buy something. Instead, it's about giving yourself options. And when you see how much you spend without thinking, you start to ask yourself whether you truly need the things you're buying. This self-awareness helps you align your daily actions with your broader financial goals, and that is getting rich. Now, we've been talking about the small dots. Let's talk about the bigger dots. 1 week is just a start. The habits you form during that week can actually become a way of life. If you continue to track your spending, even loosely, you'll find that your awareness around money deepens. You start to look for opportunities to save, not just in the small things, but in larger financial decisions too. For example, after seeing how much you save from those small, tiny micro adjustments, you might begin to rethink larger expenses like going out for a meal, travel, or entertainment. It's not about cutting back on things that bring you joy. It's about making sure that you're spending intentionally on the things that bring you joy. The great stuff is worth spending on. The experiences are great spending on. We're just talking about all these little things that at the end of the year, you don't even realize that you've spent on them. When you've mastered this awareness, you then have the freedom to decide when and how to spend. And that's where true financial independence starts to form. The beauty of this practice is that it also opens the door to investing. You might take those small weekly savings and put them into an interest-bearing savings account or a long-term investment. And over time, this can grow significantly. The action of saving, even small amounts, compounds just like interest. Now, another benefit of this exercise is breaking free from the cycle of mindless consumption. We live in a society that is designed to make us spend, whether it's through the added social pressure or the sheer convenience of buying things on a whim. And when you take control of your spending and start seeing where your money is going, you detach from this pressure. You realize that you don't need the things you once thought were essential. This week of saving opens your eyes to how much of your spending is driven by habit rather than need. And when you break free from this, you're not only saving money, but you also develop a mindset that helps you make more thoughtful, deliberate choices across all areas of your life. It's about control, and having that control builds confidence. When you see that you can control your spending, you begin to believe that you can control other areas of your life as well. It's empowering to know that you have the ability to create a financial cushion or achieve a financial goal through these small, manageable actions. So wealth doesn't come from one big dramatic financial windfall. It comes from the accumulation of small, consistent actions taken over time. It's simple, but it's a powerful way to get started on that journey. And just by focusing in on 1 week, you'll discover patterns in your spending. Build those new habits and begin to shift your mindset from consumption to saving. So what's the action plan? First of all, start tracking. Just for 1 week, track every expense that isn't essential. And each time you think about buying something, just stop and jot it down instead. Even if you do still buy it, just jot it down. Then transfer or record it. Instead of making that purchase, transfer the equivalent amount into a savings account. And if you can't transfer it, as we say, just make a note of how much you would have spent. And at the end of the week, total your potential savings and reflect on how much you spent on things you don't really need, and commit to doing this exercise for longer periods. Consider repeating it every few months just to see if you've maintained that awareness of your spending habits. And the best thing is you can then use those newfound savings to create an emergency fund, pay off debt, or invest in something that grows your wealth. And that's how you do it. So if you try this challenge, we'd love to hear how it goes. Share your results on social media using the hashtags JoinUpDotsChallenge, and let's build a community of mindful spenders who are on the path to financial freedom. Now, don't forget, subscribe to the podcast. Please leave a review because your feedback helps us reach more people and continue bringing you valuable content. And we will see you in the next episode. See you soon. Bye-bye.
That's the end of Join Up Dots. You've heard the conversation. Now it's time for you to start taking massive action. Create your future, create your life. It's the only life you've got. We'll be back again real soon. Join Up Dots, Join Up Dots, Join Up Dots, Join Up Dots. Join up Dots.